Hey guys, welcome back to another review with Vaping Daily. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Snowwolf 200 watt, and it's a redo of the older Snowwolf 200 watt. You're probably familiar with the old 2-battery Osmotis guy that I've got right here. With that, they've launched the Snowwolf 200 redo, essentially, and there's a couple things different about it that I'll cover with you guys today. But the first thing I wanted to point out was that they've made this guy a little smaller than the original. You'll notice right off the bat that the new one's a little skinnier this way, and it's a little bit shorter this way. As well as they've switched from the up and down button here and the smaller fire button to a larger fire button and your charge port, and no up and down buttons on here. And the way that that works is this new unit is partially touchscreen. There's actually 2 arrows that pop up right here and a menu that you operate internally. And I'll show you kind of how that works in the breakdown. Now this box is a dual battery box, just takes 2 18650s, and they sit in there really snug. I actually like the difference between this battery sled and how they manage the space versus how they manage the space in the Snowwolf. Obviously you've got this huge blocky chunk of nothing basically in here. When you lift this plate up, there are a few things. The 510 goes down in there, and there's a couple leads coming off of your actual battery sled, but aside from that, there's just a huge chunk of space in there that's not being utilized. So with this newer one, they actually have cleaned up the design, and it's a much nicer, I honestly think it's a much nicer build. Fits in hand a little better. Got a nice clicky button. All right, so now I'm gonna get into the actual system that you're gonna be working with the new Snowwolf 200. When you turn this guy on, it's gonna be 5 clicks to turn it on, and the 2 arrows are gonna light up right here, and those are basically gonna be your up and down buttons. So it asks you right off the bat whether or not you have a new atomizer, and there's a little trick to this menu which is kind of good to know. When you click that yes, it's a new atomizer, it's gonna prompt you for your menus. With this guy, you're gonna select the menu right off the bat, and it's gonna take you right into the main screen. When you're at the main screen, you have a couple new things. The battery bar is actually 2 batteries, you'll probably notice, which gives you how much charge both batteries have. It allows you to see how balanced or unbalanced they are, which is kind of nice because the newer battery boxes have a battery balance lead, but they don't always tell you how balanced or imbalanced they are. They just tell you whether or not it is. So that's kind of neat. And then it also has a second meter down there that tells you exactly how long of a pull you're taking, which is kind of a neat little feature. Something that you typically see in the Lysimo mods more recently, but this is, it's neat for the Snowwolf model for sure. Something that should be noted about the Snowwolf 200 when you're wanting to change menus. In order to change menus with this mod, you'll have to turn the mod off, turn it back on again, and then when it asks you if there's a new atomizer, you'll have to select yes, even if there isn't a new atomizer, and I'll tell you why. Because if you select no on the new atomizer, then it's gonna take you right back into your previous settings that you had been using before. So something that's a little tricky to get used to. It's a little different than other mods, but it's same functionality, same thing. You just kind of have to learn the difference about it. And then they also have, when you click 3 times, a different menu that's kind of new that actually says update and version. So with this one, you can actually physically look for an update, or physically update the box rather, and you can check your version of box right there. You don't have to hold buttons or anything. You can just check your firmware code and find out exactly what batch your box came from. This is really neat coming from China, in my opinion, because China typically just does batch numbers and they don't always give serialized products the same way that American products are. So you may not always have a serial number or a way to tell if your product's an authentic one, but with this firmware, you can see exactly what the chip is running, and that's a pretty neat little feature. All right guys, so one of the things I want to touch on with this mod that has me a little bit concerned is gonna be the wattage claim versus the resistance that I'm firing at. Now with this mod, they're taking your resistance limits even lower, and now where most mods used to fire only at 0.1 and higher, this one will actually fire at 0.05, which is ridiculously low and ridiculously unsafe for like 95% of the batteries that are on the market right now. With this guy, I wanted to kind of show you guys the type of functionality that has me concerned. I have here my Goon Addy with a triple core Clapton build in here, just for a cloud build. It's not safe for any consistent ratings unless you're firing this thing at stupid low wattage, at which point it pretty much wouldn't even fire up. Now with this mod, it claims that it's firing this 0.07 coil at 235 watts. When I ran that through an Ohm's law calculator, if I was firing at a resistance of 0.07 and I was firing a full 235 watts, the current being pulled through a battery would be 57.9 amps. There is no 18650 battery on the market that's rated to that amp rating. Because this is a series build, you are getting a higher amperage rating that you're able to pull safely, but even with that higher amperage rating, you're not within the 57.9 amps continuous. I guess it's possible at a pulse rating, but really what I'm trying to say to you guys is that it's unsafe as a consistent vape. You would not want to vape this thing all day long. You're more than likely going to end up hurting yourself with these batteries or blowing your box up. I mean, yeah, this thing's emitting a crazy amount of vape, which, yeah, woo, that's impressive, you know, clouds, bro, but if it's not safe, there's no point, because the risk versus reward is pretty far off. We gotta stay smart, guys. We are fighting for a cause here, and we're trying to keep people off of smoking. And if we sit here and push the limits in an unsafe way without educating ourselves, the only people that are gonna lose out are us. The only people that's gonna lose out is us. We are gonna damage our own industry. So just be safe, guys. Use Ohm's law calculators. If you don't, I seriously recommend that you do. Get an ohm meter, get an ohm tester. You know, your boxes will tell you what the ohm rating is, and they've gotten a little better over time, but nothing beats an actual ohm reader that just tests your resistance. With most resistance calculators online, you only have to plug in 2 fields. As long as you know your resistance and the wattage that the box says it's pushing, it can tell you what amps you're gonna draw off the batteries. Can I say this is pushing a full 235 watts? It's tough to say. Probably not, but it's definitely pushing those batteries higher than I'd want to push them. Now that we've talked a little bit about the box and what it does, the specs on it and everything, we're gonna go ahead and give you the breakdown like we always do and show you how it vapes. All right, guys, so I got the Snowwolf 200 Plus here. I'm running 0.07 at 235 watts.